Welcome to part two in our group project Teaching Literacy. My name is Jason McKay. I am a second year teacher in a high school in Suffolk County. I have 5 years experience as a teaching assistant in a special education classroom with students with severe disabilities. I'm going to transition us from part one of our group project, which stresses the importance of phonological awareness with students and vocabulary fluency in its important role with reading vocabulary and reading comprehension. Reading comprehension becomes easier as the student has a better understanding as to their reading vocabulary and mastery and understanding the importance of phonological and fluency. As stated earlier, fluency plays an important part in understanding reading vocabulary. Fluency allows the student to recognize the words that are being read. The students need to have the ability to understand and recognize and essentially break apart each of the vocabulary terms. And this can be done through identifying the prefix, the suffix, or the root words associated with each. I will show you some ways that we can try to work with students in order to develop these skills. The students should also develop an ability to decipher and decode the meanings of certain words that they may not know about through the context clues. And again, I will show you another strategy that we can use with working with students. And finally, the students need to have the ability to exhibit mastery and understanding more commonly used words. Several studies have shown that students have a higher success rate, especially with understanding reading vocabulary and reading comprehension, when they have the ability to understand and again decode key terminology. Once they have the ability to understand those terms, then they have a better understanding as to the passages that they are reading. Students should also be exposed to not only just commonly used words, but they should be kind of pushed a little bit to be to attain a higher understanding of a higher degree, a higher level of terminology. So at this point, I'm going to show you a few teaching techniques and strategies that we can use in order for students to succeed. One of the first things and more commonly used techniques are graphic organizers. These graphic organizers can be used in order to allow students to understand how to break apart words, how to identify and know what the meanings of prefixes and suffixes, the root words are. This way, if a student is ever exposed to a word that they may not know, if they're able to identify these parts of the word, this can afford the student an ability to understand or have a beginning of an understanding of what the word could mean. Graphic organizers can also be used to help students to learn how to look up words, to have a better understanding as to the definition of the words, to have an idea what synonyms are or antonyms. Um, this these can also be used to allow students to understand what context clues are in order to read the rest of the sentence, even though they may get stuck on one word they may not know. By understanding the rest of the sentence, they may be able to begin to understand what the word could mean. I'm going to show you one of those techniques as well. And then incorporating fun ways to reinforce new words and have the students have a better understanding as to the text that they are reading. So here's an example of a graphic organizer used to allow students to begin to understand how to take apart words. On the left column, I placed some words that has a prefix and the root word. I left the rest of the graphic organizer blank. At this point, it can be something that the students can work on together in order to understand what each word part means. On the next slide here, this is how the students should have filled it out. So having the ability to break apart the prefix from the root word and then identify what each part means and come up with a meaning for the word. All right, so and on this teaching strategy, student can develop two columns of words and allow students to begin to work towards understanding synonyms. So basically words that have similar meanings. So here on the left column, I put 5 words, and then on the right column, I also have 5 words. The students' main objective would be to identify which words would be would correlate with one another. So all they would have to do is make a line connecting each word that has similar meaning. So warm to hot, begin and start, funny and laughing, good and great, and sick and ill. This teaching technique works with antonyms and understanding the reading vocabulary. Have some words have opposite meaning or have opposite terms. So, for example, this would be the first one. The weather is cold. The antonym for cold obviously would be hot. The second one, Tim has a small car. The antonym would be big, and so on and so forth. Allowing students to develop the ability to understand how to take apart the text in order to identify or work towards understanding a word that they may not be too familiar with. So one of the words that I like to use is actually exacerbated. Um, so in the text, John went to the doctor for a cold. John went home and his cold became exacerbated from the cold weather. John ended up in the hospital. I would ask the students what they would guess the word exacerbated could mean. Hopefully, from understanding the rest of that text, they would be able to identify what that the word means that it could be something bad. As stated earlier, students who have the ability to understand their reading vocabulary, having the ability to decipher and decode some terminology, whether it's understanding the prefix, the suffix, the root word, um, synonyms, and antonyms, those are the students who perform better with reading comprehension. Oftentimes, reading comprehension or lack of reading comprehension is associated with the student's disinterest from the topic. But a lot of times it's not that. That's not the case. The case is that actually that the students are having difficulty understanding and decoding the text. Students who struggle with reading comprehension also have the tendency to miss the main ideas of the text that they are reading for their assignment. Um, so we try to develop what we refer to as strategic readers. So some of the strategies that we use in order to strengthen our students in reading comprehension is to allow them to understand what they're reading, why they're reading it, and have the ability to become skilled. In order for the student to become skilled, they need to ask questions as they read. So sometimes teachers can use guided questions in order to help the students to understand what kind of questions they should be asking when they are reading. So one strategy that we can use is to allow students to work in pairs or small groups and work at understanding some guided questions. So maybe who are the main characters? What is happening in the story? Why is it happening? What may have caused it? Um, what may be progressing or making it better? How is it happening? And when is it happening if time is a factor? On the next slide is a poster that we can actually use in our classrooms, which also allows the students to kind of, again, be guided towards what type of questions they should be asking as they read in order to understand the reading that they are using in their assignment. And another technique used to help students with their reading comprehension skills would be to basically expose them prior to the subject matter that they're about to read, allow them to use prior knowledge and have them pre-think about some of the matter that they're going to be experiencing when they read the assignment. And then again, during the reading, engage them and guide them towards understanding what they're reading. Ask those questions as we saw in the previous slides. And then afterwards, review it with the students and allow for open discussion. Allow the students to help each other have a deeper understanding as to the main points that were involved in the reading.